I'm fired up and I'm ready to go. I'm fired up and I'm ready to go. I'm fired up and I'm ready to go. This is the Billionaire Brown experience. Let's go.
Okay, so here we are, third episode. This is John Fontanez on the other side. Say what's up to everybody, John.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I got to ask you before we get into episode 3, how do you feel that our conversations, or how do you feel that your story is being told so far?
I like the way it's being told. You ask some intriguing questions, which forces me to go deeper. And the things that we talk about, I'm able to, after the podcast, kind of think on these things. And that kind of brings me into the next podcast because I'm thinking about the things that we've discussed in depth, you know, and the things that I want to relate to people.
Man, that last episode that we did, we just finished it up today. It looks really good. I wish the whole thing that everybody can see on video, but it really, really looks and it sounds really good.
Excellent.
My biggest take home was when you was talking about with your father, and you were talking about, I think I asked you something to the extent of, you know, what are some things that you did miss for not having your father in your life for 24 years? And one of the things that you said, you was like a hug, and you were missing that hug from another man. And you were also talking about, what was that? Oh, just saying that he was proud of you, just proud of you to be his son. So I know we went pretty deep into your relationship with your father, how you met him. You know, it took 24 years for you to do that. But I get, it sounds like there's still some things, there's some stones that we still need to turn over before we move from your relationship with your father.
Yeah.
So to that, where can we pick up where we left off?
Well, I was thinking about this in between because you had asked me if I was satisfied with where our relationship was. Mm-hmm. And I hesitated, but I said yes, because I felt like this was all I was going to get out of it. Like where we were at with me and my father, this was what I was going to get, what I'm getting now. And I needed to be satisfied with that. But as I thought about it, the truth is I'm not satisfied with it. For some reason, not for some reason, I mean, I think the reasons are apparent of him not being there. But, you know, I'm a man of 45 years. I'm 45 years old. You know, you could almost say I'm a middle-aged man. You know, if I get 90 years out of this life, you know, that's a good run, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm a middle-aged man here, you know. I wish I could go buy myself a Porsche. Maybe I'll go test drive one. But so here I am, you know, I'm a man, he's a man, you know, we're these two individuals, and I still want more from him, you know. So I was thinking about this, and along the lines of us both being men, and really me meeting him as a man, as a young man, you know, at 24, we're just two men that are, yeah, he's my father, but we're two men that don't really share the same interests. And here I am wanting to be around him and hang out with him and be a part of his crowd. And I'm not a part of his crowd. You know, I don't do the things that he does. I don't drink anymore. We've heard that part of my story. So I don't drink. He's still a drinker. He's still somewhat of a partier. He's slowed down a little bit. He's 64 years old. But the guys that he hangs with are the drinkers, the in the bar, and all that. And that's not my life.
Will he come in your, so you can't get into his world, but is he willing and open to come into your world or no?
It doesn't seem like that, like I often reach out, I try to get him on the phone, I talk to him every once in a while. Mostly our relationship now consists of dinners, so we'll go out to dinner, maybe on a Friday or Saturday night. we'll go out, we'll enjoy a meal, we'll have some conversation. Sometimes it'll go a little deep depending on how much he's drank. It might get a little deep. He might get a little.
What's one of the deepest conversations y'all may have?
Well, one of the things he had brought up, I don't know, we were talking about my life, and you know what, he was saying that he was proud of me. He was saying, because he had seen me in my addiction, so he had seen me, like, he hadn't seen me grow up, he hadn't seen me start, he hadn't seen the initial path along addiction. But after I met him, I think I had mentioned early on in the first episode that I had relapsed. So when I met him, I was clean. And I was part of the church, and I was kind of along that path, but then I had relapsed. So he had seen me struggle with addiction for about 5 years, because shortly after I met him, that's when I had relapsed. Mm-hmm. And so and I was out there for another 5 years. So he had seen me struggle in addiction. I'd come around every once in a while. So we weren't really bonding then. We weren't really forming a relationship. I'd come around, try to, sweet talk him into giving me some money. He'd give me some money, or I'd see him in the bar. I think I'd mentioned that, walking past the bar, and I'd go in and I'd have a beer, and then I'd get, he'd throw me a 20 or something like that. And that's kind of what our relationship was for the first 5 years.
So what's one of the deepest conversations that you guys may have when you go to dinner?
So in light of that, he had said he was, he had talked about my life and where my life is now, and he said he was proud of me. But he had said that he wished, I don't even know if he said he wished, but he had made an indication that he kind of regretted not, although he said he didn't know about me, he kind of regretted not having me as a child, because he thought maybe my life would have turned out differently. It seemed like at that moment, like he got vulnerable, and maybe, wishful thinking, and he thought, well, maybe if I had raised him, maybe if I was in his life, maybe maybe my life would have turned out different. And that was probably the deepest we had went. Okay,
so you're going back to this satisfaction and what you like. What are you specifically not satisfied with?
I just think I want more time with him, like I had missed all that time growing up, and I just want time with my dad, even at 45.
So what would you do in that time? Like what type of time? Are you talking about a vacation? Are you talking about a night of playing some pool?
Now, it's funny that you mentioned that, because he's a part of a pool league. That's what he does in his retirement. He's a part of like 3 leagues, But I don't know.
Because like, what if he asked you? Like, what if he's asking you? Like, well, what time? Like, what do you want to do? What would you say?
I think it could be anything, actually. It could be pool. If he invited me out to play pool, I don't play pool. I'm not that good. I mean, I could play, but but I would go out and play. We actually went one afternoon. I was laid off, and we went and drove race cars. The cars, the indoor track, the little
go-karts.
And I had never done it before. My whole life, I had never done that before. Always wanted to do it.
You've never did go-karts?
Never did it before.
What?
So here.
Wow.
And they used to have in Mount Laurel. They used to have what was that place called? The place with the video games and the track.
I used to go there all the time. Yeah.
It was on Fellowship Road. You used to go there and play video games, but never got to drive the cars.
Wow.
Malibu it was called. Malibu.
Okay. Yeah.
So anyhow, we went and did that one afternoon. Me and my dad, and I was ecstatic. I was like a little kid. Like, I was hanging out with my dad, and this was just last year.
What?
I was hanging out with my dad. It was mid-afternoon. It was almost like I was a kid, and he took me out of school. Like came and got me early. And, we're gonna go race these cars. That's what it felt like, and that's what we did. And it was just and it was a fun, couple hours that we had spent together. So really,
was it the best? Was it the best 2 hours that you guys have spent together? What was the best moment that you guys have had? Because if you could see your face, most people are only going to be able to listen to this, but
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
see
yeah.
your face, and
I'm
your face
gonna
lit
tell
up
you
about this go-karting.
it was. I'm gonna tell you, over the last 20 years that I'd known him, that was probably the best. Really,
Really?
really. It was something I had never done. I had never done before, and then it was something that I went and did with my dad, just me and him. There was nobody else a part of the clique. You know, it was just me and him, and we went and raced these cars and had a blast.
How good were you your first time? This was your first time. How good were you?
I did pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah, I did pretty good. I got to tell you, it was fun, man. I can't wait to take my girls to do it, man. It was fun, but like if you're just talking about like some quality time, some fun time, that was it, because I felt like a kid. You know, I felt like a kid with his dad, and we were, like I said, it was just like he scooped me up out of school, like, we're gonna go have some fun today. Don't tell your mother, kind of deal, right? Like, don't tell your mother, we're gonna go have some fun. It felt like that. Not that I know what that would feel like, but I could only imagine, like, that's kind of how it felt. You know, he scooped me up and we went and did that.
I have a question for you about this relationship with your father that you're talking about now. Do you feel that everyone in your same scenario feels the same exact way, but some hide what you're feeling? Or do you think that you're feeling a little bit different than most people?
No, I sometimes, just being self-consumed, I feel like it's only me, woe is me, I'm the only one going through this, but there's no way that other people aren't feeling like this as well, because I mean, just biologically, the whole parent and kid thing, it just works. That's the system. That doesn't mean you can't grow up good. You can't have, we talked about this last time, we can't have, step parents that kind of step in and fill that role, and you get that from them or other people that but for me, I grew up and I realized I missed something, and it's been digging at me ever since. So I know that there's other people out there going through it. Like me, maybe they had that relationship, that relationship, and it's kind of on the borders, but it just isn't. It isn't, what maybe that either one wants it to be, and it can go vice versa. Maybe it's a father or mother that wasn't in the picture. Now he or she's trying to have a relationship with their child, and their child's like, "Whoa, you haven't been around," and kind of keeping them at bay. So it could go both ways.
So to get you the more that you're looking for, what would that look like?
I think it would look like, I think it would be him reaching out to me sometimes.
Okay. Let's see. I like that. Okay. So you're saying as of now, you're doing most of the reaching out?
Yes, I'm doing 99% of the reaching out. Calling him up, seeing how he's doing, asking him if he wants to get dinner. You want to get together, and then, occasionally it happens. Yeah, I think that would fulfill some kind of need or want in me if he reached out, if he gave me a phone call, like, "Hey, you want to get together? You want to have dinner?" And then I would feel wanted by my father. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, yeah. I'd drop everything. I'd be like, "Yes, let's go. Let's get some dinner. Let's hang out." So.
Okay. So what's another one? What else would it look like? So reaching out, I want to come back to that one too, because I think that's a really big one.
Yeah.
That is a really big one that I know connects with a lot of individuals that are going through that as well. What's another one? What else would it look like? The reaching out, I got that one. What's another one?
Okay. I can't really think, because it really consists of time, so him reaching out.
Wow, so wait, reaching out? Is that the only one you want to? Really? So you're saying if he was to reach out And you said it's 99% of the time you're reaching out now. So you're basically saying if it was just, let's say, forget 50-50. Let's just say if it was 60-40, this would give you more, the more that you want. Just that one thing.
Yeah, because I think so. It would change a lot of the dynamic. And if he's reaching out, that means I'm spending more time with him because maybe he's not only inviting me to dinner. I mean, he invites me over some, we have family functions and I do get an invite, everything. But if he's reaching out even 40% of the time, that means I'm spending 40% more time with him.
So everybody's going to ask the question is, have you guys had this conversation before about the reaching out?
No, this is really the first time I'm kind of voicing it. I've been feeling it, but this is the first time I'm actually voicing it and kind of working through it here on your podcast. Just
how do you think that would go? So let's just play this game. Let's continue to play the game of getting John what he wants. How do you think that would go? If and when you do have that conversation, do you think it will be something that it will be done, or do you think it's going to be a little argument, or is it something where you don't think it's going to happen at all?
I don't think it would be an argument. I think, I'm not sure. I think I have some reservations about opening up like that. Like I have all these feelings and all these emotions, but I have some reservations because I'm not sure how it's going to go.
What if he says no?
Exactly. Yeah. He may I think that's some of the reservation. Maybe he'll be like, well, you got what you get. This is me, this, take it or leave it.
Would you be able to handle that? Would you be able to handle a no?
I think initially it would be difficult. I think, initially, because I have this want to spend more time with my father, a no would initially, I want to say devastating, but it wouldn't crush me, but it would be a shock to the system. Because when you have I got an expectation, I want something and I don't get it. Initially, that can be a little disheartening, So.
And what if he says yes? Well, let me give some substance to that. What if he says yes and then doesn't follow through?
Then I'd be disappointed. And we'd be back to square one. We'd be back to, okay, this is who he is. This is his character, and this is who he's been, and I'm not going to change that. The whole thing with this is sometimes I struggle with the reality that I'm this man and I'm still craving these things, and I'm wondering, like, why not get over it already? Why not, as men, we're supposed to be, tough, hard exterior, hard interior, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You just kind of go through life and you trudge through life. And, I'm not unique, but I think I'm unique in that just for myself, that I admit to these feelings and I admit to what I'm going through, and because I can't hold that stuff in. I'm the kind of guy that if I'm going through something, I got to tell you, man. I'm going to tell you. I'm like, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm feeling, and these are the things that I'm going through. And sometimes I feel ashamed of admitting these things or talking about these things, because there's that part of me that feels like I should get over it already. And that's just the society, like societal ideals. Like just get over that already. Move on with yourself.
I want to ask one more question, and then I want you to open up something else that you want to voice in regards to your relationship with your father. If you're doing 99% of the reaching out, okay, if you were to stop reaching out right now, however you reach out, if you were to stop doing it today, how many days, weeks, months, or years do you think would go by until he will reach out to you?
Well, there have been several weeks that have gone by where I haven't, you know, like I haven't reached out. I haven't even, you know, asked him how he was doing or anything. I just kind of, you know, we're just going about life, and I'm aware of it. And there have been, you know, 2-3 weeks that have gone by. I don't think months would go by, you know, maybe a month and a half, 6 weeks or so. That's very, very possible. I don't think several months would go by, or even years or anything like that. We live pretty close by, but certainly several weeks have already gone by in certain periods of time where I haven't heard anything from him. And then I'll text him, see how he's doing. Ask him if he wants to get dinner. There's been times where he's like, yeah, let's get it, or, you know, I'm busy, or I'm doing this, or I got the pool, you know, just different stuff going on.
Is he a texter?
Yeah. That's how we communicate a lot, through text.
Okay.
Yeah.
And even through text, it could go a couple weeks, even through text.
Yeah, I'll text him and I won't hear back from him for a while.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
All right, that's good to know. All right, so now, like, what else do we need to know when it's coming to this relationship here? Because I could talk about this reaching out all day, to be honest. But what else do we have?
Well, you know, I think that's mainly it. You know, like, you can't make up for lost time, right? You lose time, you lose some things, and then you got to kind of start where you're at and go on from it. And maybe that's what we did. Maybe we started where we were at, and this is what our relationship has become. Maybe it's not going to be any more than that. You know, I can certainly voice some of these things to him and have a talk with him and see kind of where it goes from there, because it could very well turn around. We could actually maybe even get closer to one another. But I may still be longing for stuff that is long gone. because I had those feelings like a child. These longings aren't adult longings. These are longings of a child. You know, wanting my dad to pat me on the back, wanting to get a hug, wanting to spend time with him, wanting him to look my way. You know, it's figuratively speaking.
See, I'm thinking of it for myself, because I don't know if you're doing the right thing, like what you just said, or maybe you're trying to get something that you can't get. I have the same battle.
Yeah.
But I would love to feel like have that fight in me. I would love, but after, because I've had that conversation. Like, yeah, we need to, you know, it would be great if you reach out to, this is not just on me, let's work it out. And it went for like a couple weeks or whatever, but then it just kind of faded out. And then it's like, oh, you didn't call me on my birthday. And then it's, oh, you didn't call me on Father's Day, or whatever. And I know that I'm not the only person. So basically, we are the two sides of the coin. I'm the side of the coin that's like, you know what? It is what it is. Like, I love him. I understand what he's going through. Maybe it's too late. And then you're on the other side, like, you still have that desire and that need.
Yeah.
So there's many of both of us in this situation.
Definitely.
So what do you think? Do you think that you're doing the impossible, or do you think that you could really get what you want?
I don't think it's impossible, but it does depend on both of us. You know, it just doesn't depend on me. It takes two of us to make this thing work. Now, I can go a little further, as you just mentioned. Like, I can voice what I'm feeling. You know, I could sit down and have have another conversation with him and go deeper, and then see what the outcome is. Hey, maybe he's scared too. I don't know. Maybe he has some things going on that he can't talk about, or he's reluctant to talk about. You know, so maybe if I initiate it, I mean, who knows? I don't know what will come of it, but maybe he has some things that he hasn't said yet that he wants to say as well.
But at what point would you see? I'm asking this selfish question because I'm the other side of the coin. But at what point do you think you'll be like, okay, I'm doing way too much? Or is that just in your DNA that you're just gonna do this until the end of time?
I think until we have a more in-depth conversation, me and my father, with me, like what I'm talking to you about and what I'm talking to your audience about. When I sit down and talk to him about it and I see what he has to say and what his reaction is, depending on the outcome of that, I think that will be the point where it's like, okay, he's been wanting something too, and here we are, we're meeting in this place, we're meeting halfway, or he's fine with where it's at and this is where it's going to be. And then I can say, okay, this is where it's at. That doesn't mean the feeling's going to go away, but I can take that and accept that and say, okay, this is how it's going to be. I'm going to be the one kind of reaching out like, hey, you want to get dinner, you want to get together, you want to chat or whatever. And then that's what I'll have to live with and be thankful that for the last 20 years, I've known my father. So for the first 24, I didn't. For the last 20 years, I've known my father. We've been in each other's lives. Maybe it hasn't been to the degree that I wanted to be. And some of that is my fault. You know, like I said, during the first 5 years, I was, heavy into addiction. I had met him and then all of a sudden I wasn't about forming a relationship. I was about getting a fix, day in and day out. So some of that's on me as well. But over the last 15 years, I've been, and not even that, even when I was married, I didn't go around that much. I had become sort of reclusive. So, some of this could actually, now that I'm thinking about it and talking about it, some of this could be my fault. I wasn't going around a lot of family functions. I was getting invited to stuff. And my wife at the time, Anna, she would go and take my kids.
Parenting ever ends?
What's that?
Does parenting ever end?
I think it changes. I don't know that it ends, but it certainly changes. It goes from, I think, teaching and guiding to maybe later on in life as you're both adults to having conversations of equal value and then maybe some advice.
See, because I'm asking that because you just was talking about, well, maybe it is my fault. Maybe it is. And I can't see, that's my 1% of the coin. You're 99% active. I'm like 1% trying to reach out. Because I believe, my mind is psychologically wired to say that it's like there's nothing, a parent can never stop being a parent, in my opinion. And if you were going through those things, that's not a reason to not shift in a different gear, as you just said, to do a different style of parenting.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what age it is.
Yeah. I got what you're saying, yeah.
So I'm just trying to see what side of the coin do you feel is the right path? Because again, everybody that's listening right now, they're one of the two. If they don't have their father, they're one of either your style or my style. Which style, like, am I crazy? Are we crazy on my side of the coin?
I don't think so. Because with my other parent, I'm on your side. I'm kind of on your side of the coin. So these are my relationship with both my parents are completely opposite dynamics.
So your mother's reaching out to you.
No, she isn't reaching out to me, but nor am I reaching out. Well, she does in subtle ways.
What do
But
you
I
mean
don't,
subtle ways?
like just by telling me that she loves me, usually via text, which
Okay.
makes me feel really uncomfortable. And I never say it back.
Why? Why not?
Because I don't think that I actually I don't know that I love my mother.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't think that I do.
Okay. Why don't you think you love your mother?
Well, I think I might have talked about her a little bit, but I didn't grow up with my mother. Now, my mother was around.
Mm-hmm.
She was in and out a lot. My grandmother raised me. I'm sure I had mentioned that. So she was in and out. She lived in the same house sometimes. And I lived with her briefly. I think I was 4 or 5 years old. I lived with my mother briefly. And I talked about this last time we were talking about step parenting. She was married. Her husband was nice to me, wanted me to call him, or said told me I could call him dad. And I was just like, I know he wasn't my dad. I wasn't calling him dad, you know? And that got into the whole step parenting thing. But so I only lived with my mother briefly during that period.
How many years?
Not long at all. It was probably months.
Oh my. Okay.
Just maybe a few months. I don't recall.
In your whole life?
I lived with her as an adult for a while.
Okay.
While in my addiction.
Okay.
And then later on, she lived with me for a period of time.
Okay. So is she so we need to understand how you're unsure.
Well, I've never really had a relationship with my mother. You know, it's been touch and go my whole life. When I was, like I said, I didn't grow up, you know, she didn't raise me. I didn't grow up with her. When I was in my addiction, like in my early 20s, and I was in my addiction, I lived at the house which she resided in for a little while. You know, she was kind of like like an enabler. You know, she gave me a place to live, and therefore I didn't have to pay any rent or anything like that. So all the money I had could go to, you know, using drugs. But my mother also battled addiction throughout my life.
What type of addiction did she have?
She was an alcoholic. I think she was addicted to speed for a while. So she's battled that, and I grew up seeing that, and like her different, you know, her boyfriends and their addictions, and just this whole messy, you know.
So those are all the reasons why you shouldn't love her, right? What are why you're uncertain? What are some things why you feel that you do?
Well, I don't feel that I do. I just didn't want to come out and say I didn't love her. I didn't even want to throw that out there. Like, I don't love my mother, you know? Because, you know, that's a little touchy because, you know, our attitude towards mothers are like, you know, you only have one mother. And everyone I talk to about my mother, they're like, you know, that's your mother, you know, never, you know, it's never, that's your father. You only have one father. It's always like the mother. The mother is the pinnacle of the family, right? You know, she's at the top, you know, and no matter what, they're like, you only have one mother.
Yeah.
You know, so people are like, you know, I tell them this stuff and they're like, whoa, what are you, crazy? But so, you know, I lived with my mom for a little bit, you know, in my addiction, and we just never had a relationship. We never had, again, just like my father, we never had a mother and son relationship. When I lived in Delaware with my mother, the only thing I remember was she was mean. She yelled at me a lot. These are my memories. She yelled at me a lot. She was mean. And that's like the most vivid memory of my childhood and my relationship with my mother. I just had this impression, like, you know, my memory could be playing tricks on me. You know, you get older, you remember certain things, they're a little skewed and stuff like that. But my impression as an adult, in regards to my relationship with my mother as a child, is that she was mean. That's it.
What is mean?
Mean, like